Welcome, friends, to the Sage CRM 2023 R2, the second release of 2023, release overview. It's David again, and joined by my colleague Jeff. Hi, Jeff.
Hi, David. Hi, David. Very pleased to be here and be with everyone.
And we are presenting on behalf of course, the larger CRM development team based in Dublin, who are happy to bring to you this new release.
Right, let's have a look at what we've done for 2023 R2. It's a big release, and it's put into the context of a very dynamic, changing roadmap. So if I remind us of what we did with earlier in the year with 2023 R1, we had worked with the email and import features. We had allowed for or reinstated a feature which was the editing of merged documents. We've made REST API improvements. We renewed the SDK installer and advanced customization wizard. So we've done quite a lot of things which were all about really improving features because of a big shift that we had made in eliminating the last usage of plugins and our commitment to move away from anything legacy. We also had implemented and changed and introduced a company narrative feature, which in this version we've also taken on further. So we've implemented localized narrative summary. We have been listening to our partners and our customers to say, well, if you don't like a feature, let's see if we can make things better. So you'll see that we've got some changes to the pipeline in this release. We've implemented some read-only tab ideas. We've made some improvements to the Exchange integration, etc. And I'll explain all these as we go through. But if you look into the context of where we are within the overall flow of the roadmap, you can see that each of these are contained with focused areas in which we're improving. And if you think that the introduction of AI, it's a deterministic AI rather than generative AI feature like the narrative, well, the next version we're going to be actually experimenting with generative AI in the use around documentation and help. So we've got a lot of sophisticated stuff coming up within our system. If you could move on, David, to remind people where you can see the roadmap. Now, this is hosted for us within the context of the UK team, so mysage.co.uk. And if you look down there, you can find what we've delivered, what we're launching soon, and what we plan to do into the future. Now, this needs to be carefully updated. We've not updated it yet. We will be doing that in the context of the launch within the UK. And this is partly because there is really a lot to think about for not just the version that we've released now, but the next version that's coming down the pipe. If we look at what we've delivered in some more detail, we can see that we've compartmentalized these into UI improvements, Exchange integration improvements, some general admin improvements, implementation improvements around the physical, where how it actually is installed and how it works, and then the improvements to the user experience, which are part of the overall experience of Sage CRM customers within the CRM environment. Now, if I'm going to step through each of these now in turn. So starting off with the user interface improvements, you can see a little video running in here. And what this is explaining is that the company narrative now has been localized. That's not just making sure that it's available in different languages, which is good, but it also means that we've opened up a little bit more into the customization for the entire narrative feature. So you can start to change the wording to the information that is presented back. So it's localized into German, French, Spanish. Fantastic, and that should prove very good for the resurgent markets like France and Germany. Oh, and Spain as well. I should mention that because we did see a bounce back there. Now, the second element that I'd like to talk about is how we have listened to what customers were saying and hating the fact. Some customers were hating the fact that is when you had pipeline graphics on the rectangular pipeline, when there were 0 stages or stages with 0 records associated with the workflow, it became it lacked. There was a lot of data, but there wasn't much information. And now what we can do is, within a setting for the user preferences and also through the system administration options, users now can control what they see within their pipeline. So if they don't want to see that they've got no records waiting for something, no records at a particular stage in the workflow, they can hide those, and what they see instead is a pipeline that just focuses on the stages that are populated. Okay, so hopefully this is working here. Now on the next thing to look at, this is the read-only tabs. I'm so pleased to be able to do this. This is something that partners, this arose directly from partner advisory councils, people saying, well, why don't you do read-only tabs? Well, now we've got read-only tabs. You can click on the icon associated with the page, in this case, the company icon. There you go. You've got a tooltip which reminds you that this is a clickable thing. You click it and it gets pinned into a new tab, and you can then you can look at those and use them for comparisons as you are completing work. And it's all sorts of different uses for a customer. So it's not just pinning screens, it's lists, it's just about any of the system screens that you would want to be able to see. So you could pin one order and then be filling in another order based on the information contained in that. Or if you've wanted to be able to echo a quote out, you can do that as well. So there's all sorts of productivity gains there. We've even done some improvements to this. There's a component that will even that is post implementation. So you can drop in a component that will provide an icon to indicate that this is a pinned tab rather than the main working tab. So you can have any number of tabs and move them around where you want. Now let's have a look at the next item along here. This is starting to look at how we've improved the Exchange integration experience. This is very minor, really important for those people who are interested in this, but we now support single tenant options within the Exchange integration rather than just the public or common implementation. You can see that we now have the supported account types that can be indicated. So that would be where you would specify the address for the single tenant that you wanted. The next option is the where we've got the ability to set the default timestamp for imported emails from the email import. So this is something that you can by default. This is indicating that you're filing emails by the receipt date rather than the import date. And you can also, within this context as well, start to see that there are some other improvements, which is the next slide that we see, which is the ability now to search into different folders to import from, and it will be marked to be able to see, and the columns will change depending on whether you have imported from something that has been sent or something that has been received. And you've also got additional column on the screen to be able to show that it has got attachments associated with it as well. So a lot of improvements there within the context of Exchange, very useful for our Exchange-focused customers and using that for the import of email and contacts. But we've also made improvements for administrators who are designing workflows. Now you don't have to disable a workflow in order to examine it. Very minor change, long requested. We've delivered, we've heard, we've actually made the change. So this is a useful little thing to make sure that you can now examine a rule knowing that you're not disabled a workflow, so people can be working around you at the same time as you're checking something. Well, after that, we've made some other improvements, and this is where we're starting to look at how we have changed the implementation of the system. Up until now, we've been using Oracle Java 8, and what we've done is to provide a much greater choice and also to restrict any unnecessary costs for our customers. We've gone down the route of implementing OpenJRE as our Java version of Java runtime environment. You've still got choice, so if you don't want to use OpenJRE, you can actually fall back onto using Java 8. But we've got here, if I look at the next slide, you've got when you upgrade, you'll see the upgrade will take place automatically, but if you want to manually revert to using the Oracle JRE, we've blogged around this, we've provided the documentation to support you in that choice. And we've also provided instructions on how to manually replace the Oracle JRE. If you want to look at the next slide, please, David. If you want to move to the Oracle JRE for versions older than 2023 R2. So it's where we've delivered further choice, and you can actually retrospectively go back and say, actually, I want to avoid any potential costs with the Oracle JRE, and instead make use of the OpenJRE. And we're using the version, the distribution of OpenJRE that comes from Adoptium Temurin, and it's a very good, stable version. In fact, it's the one of the default options that, say, Apache itself uses for Tomcat. We have also made important security changes within Sage CRM. These are completely invisible to you and me, and they are to do with the hardening of the system from certain types of attack. It just is around the message to get across to customers is that they must be prepared as more and more systems are exposed to systems outside of their own organization. They must be prepared to move over to using the latest versions of Sage CRM, to be prepared to upgrade, and we'll even be, I'm sure we'll be upgrading security still further. As part of this stance, we are going to be delivering further changes to help and to the help center around information. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. But please note that we've written a number of different articles on security within Sage CRM. We need customers and partners to really think about deep layered defense or defense in depth for protecting any of these systems which hold customer data. So there are articles that talk about that now on Sage City. Okay, Well,
All right,
that
thank you, Jeff. And I just reinforce before I let you walk through the other material, this idea of this security is very important. It's work that is consuming a lot of time with other accounting teams, isn't it, Jeff? And so we are making sure we're in lockstep as much as we can be, because we're all about making sure that these two stacks work as well together, given that's where our strategic direction is, right?
Yeah, we certainly now I have what is more or less a weekly meeting with security teams, listening in to how things are progressing, and we're not. Let's say Sage CRM is not the product that causes the most gnashing and weeping of teeth for Sage, but it is something that we are constantly working with consultants both inside the company and outside the company, looking at hardening and continuing to harden products that are exposed to the web. It is something that whether you sit in on a Sage 100, Sage 300, Sage whatever product, you will be getting the same message. Customers need to be kept up to date with the latest versions. And that's something that I would encourage you to keep echoing out, especially to partners. It is their responsibility as part of their good account management to offer that managed upgrade service for customers to keep them protected. The next slide is actually showing us a version of the Help Center that is coming soon. Here, there's a couple of things to note on here, is that we're going to be moving to a situation where patches are going to be front and center on the Help Center, so people know when a version of the software has been patched. You will also see where developer information, developer help, is also available, which will sit alongside the videos for users that we already have. So this is to do with us becoming much more front and center on security over the, and you'll see this stance really being emphasized, is that upgrades, although we are being very ambitious in implementing new exciting features within Sage CRM, the bread and butter of what we do is always about protecting customer data, protecting organizational information, and so upgrading. And that's why we've got the patching going to be added into the system there. And now, in terms of the documentation, what has changed is actually you can see that the big things within the user guide and the administrator guide, we haven't really changed much. In the developer guide this time, so focuses on the localization of the narrative, the changes that the user can make to suppress stages with 0 records, how to use the multiple read-only tabs, and then within the administrator guide, all about the changes to the Java runtime environment, some of the security recommendations that we have made, and also how we can make use of the new enhancements to the way in which it integrates with Exchange for the importation of emails and so on. Now, in terms of our upgrade paths, as of 30th of September, version 2020, R1 and R2 are no longer supported. We did not test the upgrade paths from them. So in terms of your upgrade paths, you can upgrade from either 2023 R1, 2022 R1 and R2, and 2021 R1 and R2. If you want to upgrade from an earlier version, then please upgrade to one of these before you step on. Now, in terms of these upgrades, in terms of the messaging around the upgrades, we have been making some important messages to enhance all about security and all about the choices. One of the things that we've done is messaging around strengthening and hardening your product. So in terms of this slide, is that our language becomes much stricter if you make Sage CRM available outside your corporate network, you must protect SSL. This is all about, remember, I think it was last year, those of you who are involved in this with the whole moved and worrying about moves to TLS 1.2 and the ending of TLS 1 and 1.1, you know that we have done a lot of work around making sure that we're working with the correct communication protocols. This is something that we must do, move and implement TLS or secure sockets layer when we're working with implementations which are outside of the corporate intranet and so are internet faced. Okay. I will remind you about where you can find information about Sage CRM. We are working with customers who are increasingly scaling. They have their IT departments, they are becoming sophisticated, and it is important to understand that Sage CRM sits on developer.sage.com. It is one of the products that sits within the mid-market area, the medium business area, and it is interesting. Whatever you hear about Sage CRM's APIs are recognized as one of the best options within inside the Sage family. We were about the third API to drop into this place, and you can see we're positioned exactly with all of the leading international products, whether it is Sage 300, 100, 200 in the UK, and whether it is Intact and X3 as well. So we're positioned there with them. When it comes to server hardware recommendations, we've not made any changes for 2023 R2. So I've included the screen again, but actually basically same as. So no changes there, but there have been some changes. If we step on to look at the changes in supported software. So we have dropped some support for different phone operating systems. So we've dropped support for Android 10 and 11. We've dropped support for iOS 13 and 14. And what we've done is we've changed and added testing for the Android 12 and 13 and iOS 15 and 16. And in terms of the other changes, well, the SQL Server changes, they're just a regular update into what the versions of the database that we are supporting. So we're testing with the latest versions available to us at the time of QA. And you can see that we are also working there with the Eclipse Temurin JRE or the Adoptium Temurin environment, and that shows that we're doing that. Now, our upgrade paths, if we're working with customers, remind you about where you can upgrade from. So this is representing for long tail upgrades, and David talked about how the fact that we had been with a customer just this afternoon. We've been talking with them. They're a 2,500 seat customer in the UK, very long standing customer going back well before version 7, and you can see that that there is a clear path that you need to take. They themselves have made a pledge, because of the pain of dropping out of the proper support path, to have come back into this, because they recognize that as more and more systems are relying on cloud services, open up of the internet, they need to make sure that their own systems are hard and they're keeping up to date with the latest versions. Well, that just about wraps up the story that I wanted to tell you today.
So on behalf of Jeff, on behalf of the larger CRM team in Dublin, thank you for coming along. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you very much.